Uja, greetings. I am Sunu Nehast. Welcome to our early morning ancient Egyptian devotional, dedicated to Goddess Net in all her mystic forms, gods and goddesses who are derived from her transcendental essence. The liturgy, which you will be able to see on screen, is recited in the ancient Egyptian language, the Medu Neter. English and Brazilian Portuguese translations is provided for you. You can see these translations on screen directly below the hieroglyphic text transliteration. You are welcome to participate by chanting along in your worship space, home, or wherever you may happen to be during the service. Or you are also welcome to listen quietly in a contemplative mood. Following the devotional, Uwashu in the Kemetic language, there is a recitation of the liturgy and meditation known as Uwa in the Kemetic language. We will have a brief wisdom known as Rek in the Kemetic language, teaching by Sehu, Khepera, Ankh, leader and priest of the Shetaut Neter Temple of Net. Before we begin, please remember to mute all devices. We will now begin. Presented on the screen at the moment is a stone-carved depiction of the facing pylons of the Temple of Net from the statue of Henat. On the left and right sides are the pylons in which one of the symbols of Goddess Net sits atop of a papyrus standard. Her emblem is her two arrows crossed and tied to her shield. This symbolizes the protection and resurrection of the soul within this place, the temple. Behind the emblems of Net on both sides are the flags, which mean Neter, divinity. In the center of the pylons at the bottom is the opening to the temple, and above that is a pyramidal structure which symbolizes the four equilateral planes of the universe and the mystic number 4. Above that, at the very top, is the cow hieroglyph, which means rising. It symbolizes the sun rising between the mountains, the Ankh symbol, and for the initiates, the emergence of spirit consciousness. Net nesumer punater aminen. Jedef nesuhetepti neperkeru. Menket not en hepset nep en kaen. Geri hepert SSN en het net. En a ren F jetta. Net nesuma puneter eminen. Jedef nesu hetepti net perkelu. Menket mert em heb sed neb em kaem. Gary heb hert heb SSN em het neb en a ren f jeta net nesumer puneter emine jedef nesu hetep dine perkeru. Benket mert em heb sed net en kaem. Jerry heb hert heb SSN en het net en a ren f jeta net nesumer puneter emine jedef nesu hetep dine perkeru. Enket mert em heb sed yob em kaem. Gary heb hert heb SSN en het net en a ren f jeta duamu geref uben fm heru bakutu anete jegera nefer nebubem duamu geref uben fm heru bakutu anete jegera nefer nebubem duamu geref uben fm heru bakutu anete jegera nefer nebubem duamu geref uben fm heru bakutu anete jegera nefer bem. Ari Jen Segert, Asej Ulu. Kef Ulu. Nesudi Hatep Nepokeru. Didi Eskau Abamone. Nefer Shepsi. Etne. Nesudi Hatep Nepokeru. Didi eskau abamune nefreshepsi et ne te nesuti hatep netokeu. Didi eskau abamune nefreshepsi et ne te. Nesuti hatep netokeu. Didi esta uabamunet nefroshepsi et me te tua in Shamsu en negejer Sehu in Khepera dua asar nebresta paut neteru aat ami netekert anetet her kekenti amentet un nefer ab abju matentu aiku anek arati resta seteka seker aku sai las ubed center set enka def sit neter uni entet enayashem neter asar erdit endek en ariheri hena herme endes ariheri aus watepi ari set ab ua neter abu penha asar abu pen asar spur emperi arit per Nehast sa wajik pa neter asar arihen het en a set abu yen tupche medus yan aset sam ujat setep saher amseti enti amsa asar sa amseti asar amseti medut nebehet apsheta ari besa her happy enti sa asar sa happy asar pu happy medus yan net seduara semesha nep ari maket dua mutef enti amsa asar sa dua mutef asar pu dua mutef medut yan circuit Inka ke sekeret. Saru. Neb ari maket enquepsunef. Entet. Amsa asar. Sa quepsunef. Asar pu quepsunef. Anatura. Emnuem. Duachetta. Yanatura. Emnuem. Duachetta. Nebuchadnezzar Medut. Anata Cherke Asar. Putra. Makti Sake. Setu Sake. Nebuchadnezzar Medut. Anata Cherke Asar. Putra. Makti Sake. Setu Sake. Nebuchadnezzar Medut. Anata Cherke Asar. Putra. Makti Sake. Setu Sakake. Nebuchadnezzar Medut. Anata Cherke Asar. Putra. Makti Sake. Setu Sakake. Adi Jen Sakur. Adi Duaker. Ekau Uashtu. Net net duanet. Sefekera senduet. 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 Amu. Mu. Su. Amu. Mu. On. To. Amu. Sehu, Om Apata, Om Amurapata, Om Amurapata, Om Amurapata, Om Asara Sehu, Om Asara Sehu, Om Asara Sehu, Om Asara Sehu. Eruma keru, eruma keru, eruma keru, eruma keru, ase, aste, ase. Se 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 Amahira Nepe Ankuja Sele Arietelu 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 Do Nut Atien Keperu Nut Atien Keperu Nut Atien Keperu Nut Atien Keperu Ehu Do I to heru? Do I to keru? 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 Nook neverture. Nook neverture. Nook neverture. Nook neverture. Nefer tra and Aton. Nefer tra and Aton. Nefer tra and Aton. Nefer tra and Aton. Makeru emba nebejer. Makeru emba nebejer. Makeru emba nebejer. Makeru emba nebejer. Nuk ua kua. Nuk ua kua. Nuk ua kua. Nuk ua kua. Nukmat, 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 nukmat. Nukmat, 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 nukmat. Nukmat, 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 nukmat. Nukmat, 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 nukmat. Again, nukut, nukut, nukut. Asar, 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 asar. Sa, 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 ah, sa. Pete au, Ankh, was hena, nefu, kepitu, embaat in bijasu, Sunu in hotep. Aset, suja heru, suja menut nebu, sen set, sen asar, aset hetepi, suja, auitu yasur, nesheshu nebu, emhu shemu, metu tau, sep nebu, neshteta, uamenti eru, kut teken anat, tesu kemhena, sefaha hara, dijitkat ena, asar eta, keperu, medut tat, nefi asar keperu, uahai, uaker. Nuke aset, perke umnayet, ret enau seter, sa medu, en Djehuty, her tepmat, empet ta atert, aset neter, nefer ger, hu Ankh seske, sda ament, sa enken, hu fnn, au f, ready f, nepke, dit hetep, F her, FT ent, NF tawi. Uahai, Uwaker. Eruma keru. Eruma keru. Eruma keru. Eruma keru. Nerait Mesra. Nerait Mesra. Nerait Mesra. Khepera, Mduau, Ra Emahauf, Temu Ami Meshe. Khepera, Mduau, Ra Emahauf, Temu Ami Meshe. Khepera, Mduau, Ra Emahauf, Temu Ami Meshe. Uahai, Uaker. Says Nether, Netter, Moo, Nebe, Jesseri, Jeri, Netter, Netter, Moo, Nebe, Jesseri, Jeri, Netter, Netter, Nebe, Jesse, Zigeri, Netter, Netter, Mu, Nebe, Da Jesse, Zigeri, Washedi, Ua Tefaha. I am Mete. am am mete am am mete am mete am am mete am A tap, a tap, a tap, a tap. Peace, 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 peace. Peace. The tap. Dua, the tap.
Uja, greetings everyone. Okay, so we're going to continue with KSW7. And before we begin, y'all know I upload these videos to YouTube, but it seems as if the algorithm is suppressing the videos. So if you could watch them and share them with others, that would be appreciated. Perhaps it's the algorithm, and hopefully it's not, YouTube just doing something to suppress the videos. Okay, so this line KSW7 per ke ai ke heru ya hena is talking about the essentially expansion of the universe, and the spiritual aspirant is given cosmic metaphysical instruction. So you could say cosmical metaphysics, a new term. Cosmical, pertaining to the cosmic metaphysics. The usage of spiritual disciplines to attain higher consciousness. And we discussed the last week that this idea of expansion in consciousness is now being, or expansion of the universe, is now being substantiated by findings in modern science. But it's remarkable that the ancient sages spoke about this phenomena thousands of years ago. And one of the points I was making last week was how did they know about this without instruments? And it's somewhat like the Dogon that knew of the dog star that was only rediscovered only made aware in modern science like in the 1980s with the Hubble Space Telescope. But they knew of this hidden companion star to Sirius thousands of years before the Hubble Space Telescope. And it's told in a book forget the title of the book, something Ogamateli. I believe it's written by a German researcher. So these cosmic phenomena were known about, and incidentally, the Dogon claimed that they were a colony that moved from the city of Siwa in Egypt to Mali in the escarpments, the cliffs there, during the trying period, to escape the persecution. And their cosmology is very similar. The iconography of their cosmology is identical to the iconography of the cosmology of the Khemenu, the city of Lord Djehuty, with the frogs and the serpents. The iconography is identical, and the philosophical explanation is almost the same. It's very close, in other words. So we're talking about these ancient cultures that knew about these phenomena, and before the Dogon when the Dogon was living in Siwa, before the migration, obviously, in doing a comparative religious study, their cosmology that they know of now is informed by the ancient Egyptian Khemenu setup idea of the cosmos. So we know that in ancient Kemet, there's this principal idea of expansion of the universe. And the analogy that is being used is to stretch out your both arms. And that's what Djehuty is doing in the iconography to this scene. So Djehuty, if we go back, you have to go all the way up to let's use the unmarked one. See, Djehuty is stretching out his arms. To measure. And that's the text directly over his head. Is speaking about this act that he is doing of measuring out the expanse of the universe. So that means that it's an activity that involves the higher centers of the brain, and that when in ancient Egyptian medicine, there is a description of the skull, and that there's an aperture at the center of the skull, the weapon, and the life force from the astral body comes through the weapon and animates the body. But it's a whole long explanation of how that happens. And therefore the weapon, the center of your brain has a direct connection to the spirit. So this means that this act is an intellectual process, meaning there's a cosmic intellect that is that is performing the act, and that cosmic intellect is directly linked to the spirit. But in the instruction, Djehuty, who is here, his name is here, Djehuty, and he is the Lord of the city of Khepera. Djehuty is speaking these words, and these words are instructions to the spiritual aspirant. So what that means is that this is an act that is to be done by the spiritual aspirant by discovering your own Djehuty divine intellect, your own cosmic mind nature. So it's not Djehuty that's doing the act. It is you discovering your Djehutine aspect that is essentially performing the act. So Djehuty here is a mystic metaphor for the spiritual aspirant. And so the aspirant is doing the act. Now, how the act is done is it's through the mind. And what I mean by that is that the personality goes through special mind training, mental exercises, metaphysics, certain meditation practices that develops the capacity for expansion. So what's happening is that the spiritual personality discovers its own cosmic mind nature, and the aspect of that cosmic mind that is accelerating and expanding, through space. So it's your own cosmic mind nature. What that means is that the universe is mental, the all is mind, that Hermetic text idea, that Kabbalion idea. And when you're doing something like this, then you are experiencing cosmic mind, and you're experiencing the nature of that cosmic mind, which is expansion. And this kind of metaphysical praxis leads the personality to a discovery of a transcendental essence that is the basis for the expansion of mind in a form that is being referred to as the universe. And think about the word universe. Uni meaning one, verse meaning sound, so a single sound, or a single passage, or a single idea, or a single concept. So if you were to discover this cosmic mind nature of yourself, it means that you are approaching the true singularity, which is the Nebuchadnezzar, which is the spirit, the transcendental essence of self. So this idea, this concept of stretching out the arms is referring to a mystic process that is taking place within the spiritual practitioner. And again, the spiritual practitioner is led to this kind of practice through a series of metaphysics, a series of spiritual exercises. In other words, a particular meditation practice that we're not going to talk about too much here. Is this just to give you the philosophy and the idea of how these things are possible. And these things are possible with the mind. Now this has serious implications, because if you are discovering your cosmic mind nature, it means that you're experiencing powerful mind. And that's how the pyramids were built, and the temples were built, and everything that you see is because of the power of mind. And today no one can replicate the pyramids. No one can build a pyramid today. The precision alone. Let's take the most famous of the famous pyramids, which will be the large one at the Giza Plateau. The precision and the exactitude of its alignment to the stars, and its measurement from one end to the next is a variation of less than just a few centimeters. It's not even an inch off. It's less than that. That kind of exactitude and the size of the stones that are used cannot be replicated by machines. That's the point. It's the nature of mind, the discovery of the mysteries of the mind, the essence of mind. So back to this, what's happening here is that when you're experiencing something like this, you are transcendent of your physical nature. You're experiencing mind, and you're experiencing the cosmic nature of the mind. See, so in other words, you're experiencing cosmic mind. And that expansion has some features. So you will discover that you are a cosmic being beyond the limits of the concretizing ego. And what that refers to is that the ego actually keeps you very limited. it limits your power, it limits your capacity, and it limits you as a human being. You're very limited. If a if a personality have this kind of experience, it means that they have gone beyond the limits of the ego. So the ego has become highly purified, and the personality realizes themselves as something other than ego. And in the human sense, the ego is actually a collection of thoughts, feelings, and ideas that produces a tendency of what we're referring to as a personality. And if that ego becomes highly purified, and this is one of the big topics that we talk about in the Dua class. If the ego becomes highly purified, that ego, that personality, ascertains the truth of the ego. And once that happens, then the ego loses it loses its capacity to limit the personality. If you could see it for what it is, it loses its capacity to limit you. Its tendrils will remain to continue the sense of a being, of a personality, but its expression that binds the personality to a limited view of itself would be removed once you discover what the ego is. And once that is removed, then you are no longer limited by it, because you see the truth. You see the truth of the ego for what it really is, and you release yourself from binding yourself to its thoughts, feelings, ideas, and concepts. So when you learn the truth of the ego, you learn the truth of its thoughts, feelings, ideas, and concepts. And that causes a release. And when that release occurs in a substantial way, then you are able to perform the magic of cosmic mind expansion. And magic, I'm not saying using the word magic from the perspective of deception. I'm using the word magic from the perspective of a magnificent, magnanimous occurrence. And when something like this is happening, you realize that you're not a limited individual being. See, the problem with normal human existence is that human beings relate to themselves as a limited individual being. And they're not doing, it's both. They're doing it purposely, but they're not doing it purposely. They're not doing it purposely because it's an unconscious imputation of individuality onto the structure of the ego. But they are doing it to themselves by their actions and upholding their feelings and their wants and their ideas and their concepts. And when a person does that, then it further entrenches the unconscious formation of the thoughts, feelings, concepts, and ideas. So it's really a tangled web, and the way how to get out of it is not fighting with all the tentacles, but to realize the structure and the source of it. And once you do that, once you get to the core issue of the tentacles of the ego, meaning its core nature, then all of the tentacles you can work with them, you can sublimate them and transform them and release yourself from holding you, binding you down as an individual entity. In other words, when you release yourself from it, you discover your universal consciousness nature. And prior to that, you discover your expansive cosmic mind nature. So therefore, you are essentially a universal cosmic mind. But when that is not discovered, it means that you are under the sway of the ego. So in other words, you're being compressed by your own ego. And human beings like that. They like thinking of themselves as an individual and look at me, look at my muscles, or women look at my beauty, look at my body. The men look at my hair, look at my cars, all of this. So by acting in that way, you're compressing yourself. You're compressing yourself. When that compression is a contradiction to your true expansive nature. Right? Essentially, you are the cosmic mind, but have compressed yourself down to an ego by an inward projection of self, meaning your view is centered on your idea of I, your idea of self, your idea of me, I. So you're in here, you're compressed. The converse to that is that you're expansive, you're a massive projection of cosmic being. The person in the store down the street that in your conscious mind you're not even aware of right now, that person is the same essence as yourself. In fact, the essence that supports the appearance of the sun and the moon is the very same essence as yourself. But you've lost view of that grand, magnificent realization by compressing. You've compressed. And the discovery is that in your cosmic mind nature, you are continually expanding into eternity. In essence, you're an eternal being that have caused yourself to feel like an individual being. And not only that, you've grown to love it, to like it, to say, yes, this is me, this is I, with your hair and your nails and your face and your lips and all of that goes along with it. And so you've lost view of your eternal essence. But if you were to go through this kind of process, you would be like Ramses the second, the Abu Simbel temple, the grand temple that's built into the rock with the four colossal statues at the front of the temple. And that is an architectural representation of an inner mystic magnanimous realization of the nature of self. So that is not ego. That is a cosmic and mystic realization of the grandeur of the nature of being, the nature of self. So that's a symbol of a person who has discovered eternity. But since in normal human beings, they're so compressed, they can't see themselves beyond the view of what they have compressed themselves into. So they would look at something like that and say, "Look at this guy. He thinks that he's. What does he think of himself as? Look, there's big statues to himself, etc., etc." And that's because you have such a limited view of yourself. You can't hold a conception in your mind that there is something that is more powerful and magnanimous about yourself that is relatable to that. So you see it as a contradiction. But what you're really doing is you're contradicting your own internal divine nature through the ego, the limited ego. And this idea, in the mythology, there is a divinity that's called Setna Nebira. And Setna Nebira is in the boat of Ra. And the serpent of Apep is trying to stop the movement of the boat of Ra. And if Apep stops the boat of Ra, creation collapses. It reverts back to its essential nature. So to maintain creation, the boat of Ra needs to keep moving. Similarly, if the boat of Ra is a mystic metaphor for your spiritual movement through time. So if Apep stops your boat, it means that you stop your movement and your spiritual movement collapses. So taking both of those ideas into account, when you're going through this cosmic expansion of self, if the mind holds, or if your mind or your ego produces a counter concept to the principle of cosmic expansion, your expansion will be thwarted. So you will not be able to move through space. You will not be able to expand. And therefore, you will not be able to discover the eternal mystic self, as a force of entropy will come in to thwart and disrupt your movement through time, through space. Now, in a meditative practice, you can't continue expanding and never come back if you have the RU that's marked for you to, continue as a human being. Like, you have a job, you might have people to take care of, etc., etc. Therefore, in that sense, entropy will come in and disrupt your spiritual movement. Meaning, you would lose awareness of your expansive nature, or you'll get distracted and get caught up with things in the world, and you let go of your practice, etc., etc. That's how entropy will come in and thwart your mystic movement. But if you are in the meditative mode and you are expanding through a natural process of the RU, you would come back to your body, your physical body. You'll get up from the meditation practice, but the flavor of the expansion and the memory of it will remain. And you will be working and doing your day-to-day activities, but you can always have the capacity to reflect back to that expansive experience. So the normal course of the RU will bring you back to your body. Here, entropy is referring to the disruption of that process. Like, you're trying to expand, but you can't expand because of the limitations that you have placed on yourself through your ego identity, through your ego principle self. And what I mean by that is that the ego has created a kind of idea of what you are, and you believe in that idea. So that's your ego principle. You believe, I'm this certain person, I live in this certain city, I live in this certain country, I'm of this nationality, I'm from this ethnic group, etc., on and on and on. And that accumulation of individual ideas, that's your ego center. And if the personality is not able to break free of that ego center, that incapacity to do so is due to spiritual entropy. It's referred to as APEP. And so the personality has to overcome that spiritual entropy through reconditioning of the unconscious by this meditative practice itself, and by true philosophy. So we'll pick up next week. That'll be it for today. Do again for another wonderful devotion. And we'll be back again next week to continue with KS W7. So please, if you can go to the Arat Sikkim YouTube page and play the videos and share the videos, that would be appreciated. And I may turn on the comments so people can make comments as well, and just monitor and go through the trouble of monitoring and all of that. Okay, so dua everyone, dua Djehuty, hetep.